Well, it's that time for my top 5 of 2020. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the Movie Ranker, and today I'm going to be giving you my top 5 movies from the year 2020. Not the best year for film. It was the beginning of the pandemic. A lot of theaters were shutting down. A lot of movies got postponed or canceled. So, not the best year for quality. We still got a few hidden gems in there. So, I'm about to talk about them. But make sure you leave your favorite films from 2020 in the comment section, whether it be your favorite, your top 5, whatever. I'd love to have a discussion with you about them. And let's get into this ranking. So kicking things off at number 5, I got VFW. I had a hard time choosing a number 5 movie here. There was so many that were so close, so I'll give a few honorable mentions later. But I had to choose VFW for my number 5. It's a great little action flick about these group of veterans staying at this bar, a veterans bar, and they have to protect this girl that ran in from all these junkies. And these junkies are coming in and getting massacred by the minute by these veterans. It's so cool. Has a lot of style to it. Beautiful colors, great like 80s style soundtrack, very Carpenter like, and you can really tell this movie was influenced by John Carpenter, especially his film Assault on Precinct 13. It's a lot like that, same type of scenario, except this time they really up the gore. And yeah, the friggin' action here is incredible. You're seeing heads explode, arms flying off, very gory, very horror like in that respect. All the effects are practical. There's no CGI or nothing like that, so it looks really cool and gritty and a little bit more realistic. And these junkies, they're on this new drug called hype, and when they don't get it, they're basically like a horde of zombies, and that's what it feels like in this flick. It's almost like a zombie flick the way these junkies act, and I thought that was really cool too. A little twist on things. And the cast is great as well. They're all seasoned actors. We got Stephen Lang as our lead. We know him from being the baddie in Avatar and Don't Breathe, movies like that. And he just really sells the role here. He's a great leader. And it's just cool to see these soldiers having to go back in action. And they're kind of going through some trauma and PTSD. Things are flashing back from the past. Some of these people served in Vietnam or Korea and places like that. And they have to become soldiers again. It's a great movie that blends a few genres. It's just that this director likes to have a lot of dialogue scenes. So if you're not invested into these characters, it might not work as much for you as it did for me. But I loved all these characters. He did the same thing with his other flick from last year, Christmas Bloody Christmas. The first half of that movie, there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of talking, getting to know these characters. And it's a little bit like that here. Not as bad in VFW, but there's still a lot of camaraderie and that with our gang. And I really enjoyed them, so it worked for me. Up next, at number 4, I got the movie Freaky. Now, this is just a fun horror comedy. It takes the classic spin on Freaky Friday, where two people switch bodies, except this time it's this high school girl switching bodies with this serial killer. And it's Vince Vaughn that plays our serial killer in here. And it is just so hilarious to see Vince Vaughn acting like a little girl after they switch bodies. And just all his mannerism, little things he does is just hilarious. And seeing our lead, I forget her name, but she does a great job as well. Tricking people into thinking she's a sweet, innocent teen when she's really a serial killer in that body. I like the mythology behind it all. It's not super deep or thought provoking, but it's a really fun time, incredibly entertaining, funny, and great performances, especially from Vince Vaughn in this one. And of course, this being more in the lines of a slasher, we got some great kills in here too. One in particular I remember very well is when that one person falls out after being froze and just shatters in pieces. Like really cool kills like that. So if you're into these type of horror comedies with a lot of fast-paced action and entertainment, I think you'll really dig this one. Up next at number 3, we got the film Extraction. Now, this was one of the first movies to do really good during the start of the pandemic for streaming. It was one of the big streaming movies at the time, made by Netflix, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one from start to finish. Great, great action flick. Chris Hemsworth is our lead in here. Most people know him from the Thor movies, and he does a great job. Adds that star power to the movie. A lot of hand to hand combat, much in kind of the style of like John Wick. Um, Different type of movie though. This one isn't full of world building or nothing like that. It's more straightforward, but the story is good about him having to try to extract a kidnapped kid out of, I think it was India. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, you got these two big drug lords, and one of them hires him to rescue his son. There's twists and turns throughout. He gets screwed over by multiple people, and it's just a blast from start to finish. We get this really long one shot too, one take. It feels like a one take anyway. Camera magic at its best here. And yeah, it just flows so good from vehicle chases to inside buildings through corridors. The camera follows you everywhere and really puts you in the moment. The director of this one is a stunt guy, so I think that really helps the movie too with all of its stunts and choreography, much like John Wick, how it's directed by a stunt guy. Part two is out, just came out, so I have to check that out. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm definitely excited, and I'll probably rewatch this one right before. Coming into second place, I got the horror movie The Lodge. This one's a psychological horror movie that takes a few twists and turns as well. It's very um, disturbing and kind of confusing the way things play out. It's kind of mysterious. This girl stays at a lodge with these two kids who aren't hers. It's her boyfriend's kids, and the boyfriend has to take off for work. And just bad things just keep happening to this mom, this stepmom or whatever, from things going missing to the electricity going out and that, and you're just trying to figure out, is it something supernatural, is it, what is going on in this flick? And the girl comes from a background where her father was into this like kind of cult, religious cult thing, and there was a mass suicide. Everybody killed themselves, including her dad. She was the only survivor. So you're trying to wonder, is it something to do with that that's coming back to haunt her or what? And I don't want to spoil anything, but the twist 3/4 into this one is mind blowing. I absolutely loved it. Great performances all around. You really feel the dread in the air once things start going haywire. And just the whole final act is super creepy, super disturbing, and it just plays out so well. I know this movie divides a lot of horror fans. Some people call it too slow, too boring. It is a slow burn, but I feel that's needed to really make the ending punch harder, and it really builds on its mystery throughout, and that's another reason why it's a little slower at times. But for me, it's a freaking fantastic flick with amazing cinematography. Takes place in wintertime, so it's always cool to see a horror movie with snow around. And they're really isolated at this lodge. So if this one sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. And before I give you my number one of 2020, here are a few honorable mentions. Promising Young Woman. Birds of Prey. Palm Springs. The Platform. Tenet. And the number one movie for me in 2020 was The Invisible Man. Such an interesting reboot, even if you want to call it that. It doesn't even feel like it's part of the old franchise from like the 40s and 50s. Really cool twist on this one. It's not just a guy who took and did an experiment and turned invisible. No, this one is really cool how it's about this girl and her abusive husband, and she's trying her best to get away from him. She successfully gets away at night one night, and then she finds out not long after that he had died. And after he died, she starts getting spooky feelings and weird stuff starts happening around her, and she's not sure if it's something supernatural, like maybe the ghost of her boyfriend, or is it something else. And I thought it was so clever to have her boyfriend make an invisible suit and try to get back at her and stuff like that. Really cool. The cinematography is awesome. The camera work, how You get our main girl hauled around the room and stuff by this invisible person, and it's just like how they're hauling her leg and throwing her around. It looks great. The way they filmed that was awesome. Obviously, they probably had someone all in green, like so they weren't showing up on screen hauling her around. But it looks really cool and it's really well done. Her performance is off the chain. She seems psycho by the end because no one believes her in that, and you really see that on her face, and you feel like she's losing all hope. And we get this really cool action sequence, where she's getting the Invisible Man goes to get her at this facility. I can't remember off the top of my head if it was like an institution or a cop station, but I remember there's this. I think it's a cop station. If correct me if I'm wrong, but man, the security or the cops have to try to take him out while he's in there, and it's just amazing. Them hauling out their guns and him taking it from them and everything. And every time he takes people out, the next people that show up have no idea he is there since he's invisible. This makes for great action sequences, a lot of tension throughout, and suspense. And the way they wrap things up, there's kind of a twist in here at the very end, and I think it's so satisfying the way this movie wraps up. A really cool reboot. I'm glad they didn't just rehash the original film from back in the day. They did their own thing, and it really worked for me. And it was easily my favorite movie of 2020. So there you have it, guys. There's my top 5 of 2020. Would love to hear yours. Like I said, not the best year, but my top 10 are fairly strong. I know I only did top 5 here, but if you take into account my 5 honorable mentions that had to be mentioned, they're worth watching, that's for sure. But aside from that, most of the other movies were just from good to mediocre to bad. But in the following years, 2021, 2022, we got a lot of those movies that were postponed in 2020. So that is awesome. We're kind of back on track with the world right now in the movie sense. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. My link to Letterboxd and Instagram is always in the description of my video, guys, if you want to check them out. And until next time, thanks for watching.